everybody. I'm very happy and honored to be with you. My name is Gabriele Mazzara and I'm now in my Fabriano atelier in Italy. I've been asked to say something about Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci is one of the most loved artists in the world. And I myself confess that love so much that I've deeply studied it and tried to learn something in the way he designed it and in the way he thought. During his life, he has been affording so many different matters, going to from anatomy to biology to botanics to the study of the water movement to the flight of the birds, so many different things. And he was excellent in each one of those. And the historians say that in no other time there was a man, we are in the Italian Renaissance period, in no other time any man could afford so many matters. There are no other examples. One of the matters Leonardo was an excellent was undoubtedly the art. And as you well know, his most famous art pieces are known all over the world. I'm talking, for example, about La Gioconda, which is kept in Louvre Museum, and lucky is who had the possibility to see in the reality. Leonardo didn't paint so much. We don't have so many pieces painted by Leonardo. Leonardo didn't consider a painting finished. Maybe he left it for a long time and then he took it again and then he retouched again and so, because he was very precise, very meticulous, and he was never satisfied of the work he was doing at the very end. Now, you know, it's hard to say about Leonardo, to touch all the branches he had been studying. I have been studying his drawing, as I told you, very deeply, and the drawings are one of the things I like more of all the things he did. So we can, I would say, in this half an hour, we can talk and touch a couple of things by Leonardo. One of the most famous ones, and I'm sure you know it already by the images, is called the Vitruvian Man. The Vitruvian Man is a small drawing. It's not as big as you see here, It's almost half the size of what you see here, and it's kept in a museum in Venice called Le Gallerie dell'Accademia. It is very difficult if you go to Venice to see this drawing in the reality, because it's so delicate that it is kept into a drawers, because if exposed to the light it could ruin. So this drawing is exposed in Venice every 2-3 years. And I have to say that I was so lucky that once I was in Venice and there was a show, a Leonardo show in Galleria dell'Accademia, and at that time this drawing was exposed there. So it was a big emotion for me to go there and to look at it from, this distance, so that I could see and appreciate all the details. The drawing is executed in ink and some sort of very light watercolor. Let's say that the ink is worked with the water. The name of the drawing is Vitruvian Man. Vitruvius was a famous Roman architect who wrote some books, some theory books, architectural theory books, and was trying to find a correspondence between the man and designing buildings, so that the design of a man, which is harmonious because created by God, could be applied in some way to find the right proportions to design a building. And so Vitruvian Man, of which we have some drawings that I saw that day in the Galleria dell'Accademia of Venice. They were exposed here as the Leonardo one. But Leonardo studied the Vitruvian Man of Vitruvio, but he went on. And as Leonardo was used to study dead bodies, because he was deeply studying anatomy, as you know, and we have beautiful drawings of anatomy, of man anatomy by Leonardo. He used to indicate, he used to cut dead bodies, to measure, to study, and so Leonardo elaborated his own man with his own proportions. So I think it would be more proper to call this man not Leonardo Vitruvian Man, but Leonardo Man, because Vitruvius now is not here anymore, but here there is only the hand and the mind and the measures done by Leonardo. The figure of this man is designed into a circle, as you can see, and a square. Each one of those figures, circle and square, represent one the earth, the other one the sky, and the center of the circle is exactly where the umbilicus of this man is. Then we have the square, and we have to observe that the center of the square is not the same as the center of the circle, because the center of the square, that is where the two diagonals meet, is positioned where the reproduction area is situated. We can mainly see that if we consider the height of the figure, it is harmoniously divided into 4 different main parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have so many other signs and measures, and if we go to read this written part from this side to the other side, we can read how Leonardo was calculating all the proportions. As you know, Leonardo was writing not from the left-hand side to the right, but reverse. So he was writing from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, and if you want to read it properly, you have to use a mirror. But Leonardo was left-handed, so it was very simple for him to write in this way. Also myself, I am left-handed, and I can easily write from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. So it's quite, I would say this is quite normal for people who are left-handed by nature. Well, in this drawing, Leonardo was thinking of the man as the center of the universe. And at that time, we are in the Italian Renaissance time, this was the thought of the humanism, let's say of the humanism philosophy. Okay, now what I can say is to study deeply this drawing. If you like, you can find it in Google research and study it deeper, because there is a lot to learn. Now let's go to the second story. You see, we have a horse here with a knight. I did this sketch because I love very much horses. And this is my tribute to Leonardo memory, let's say. I thought, when I was drawing this horse with this man, of what Ludovico il Moro asked Leonardo when he was living in Milan. And I thought, if I was in there, in the place of Leonardo, how could I have studied the horse sculpture that Ludovico il Moro asked Leonardo to do? But this is, I would say, a very interesting, but also very sad story about Leonardo. Because actually, this horse sculpture by Leonardo is lost. We don't have it. And I will tell you why and how. You know, at that time, during the Italian Renaissance, all our big famous Italian masters were working in the different parts of Italy, each one of those in a different court. And for example, Michelangelo was working at that time in Florence and then in Rome. Leonardo was moving as well, and in that time, in 1492, he was working in the court of Milan. And Milan chief was Ludovico il Moro. When one of these famous artists were working in these Renaissance courts, they were asked to do different things. Make sculptures, make paintings, portraits, study different things. Maybe Leonardo sometimes was asked to organize even some parties, because in the Renaissance courts, the chiefs liked very much to organize big parties. And Leonardo was very much requested because he was able to study special effects. At that time, Leonardo was studying the flight of the birds because he thought that he could apply to the man the possibility to fly. So he was deeply studying how the flight of the birds was working. And by shore, he built some flying machines for men, and probably they did also some experiments of how it could be possible to apply to the man the flight of the birds. So one story says that Leonardo built a bird, a small bird, which could fly, and that during the parties he could astonish all the participating guests of the parties, making these birds built by himself, making them fly during the party. And so all the people were looking at those birds. And then he invented even other beautiful things. So, during the permanence of Leonardo in Ludovico il Moro court in Milan, Ludovico asked Leonardo to design and to build a huge bronze horse in the memory of his father, Francesco Sforza, who was died. And that's how Leonardo started studying this horse in a rearing position with the knight on top. And so we have quite a lot of drawings. We can actually even see them reproduced, but they are kept in the Windsor Castle collection. Here is the main quantity of horse Leonardo drawings. So he started working, and the difficulty was that Ludovico il Moro asked Leonardo not to do just a 2-3 meters high horse as they had around in some cases, but he asked to do it a huge monument, at least 7 meters high, which means a horse with a knight taller than a building of 2 floors. So imagine how big it could be. Now, at that time, they knew very ancient old examples of bronze horses, especially done during the Roman Empire. The Romans were very much able to build bronze horses groups. At that time, they knew, as we know, the 3 most famous horse monuments existing in Italy. All of the 3 are Roman. One of them is on top of San Marco Church in Venice. The second one is in Cartoceto, Pergola. It's named Cartoceto Bronze Horses. And Pergola Museum is not far from Fabriano. It's about quarter of an hour by car from here. And we've gone often with my workshop students to design these horses in the reality. Then we have the third group, the most famous, one of the 3 most famous groups, which is Mark Aurelio, Roman Emperor. And this horse is situated in Rome Campidoglio area. Rome Campidoglio Square. Campidoglio Square is considered one of the most beautiful squares in the world because it was designed and thought by Michelangelo's. So if you go to Rome, you don't have to miss it and go to the square, and in the middle of the square you will see one of the 3 most famous Roman bronze horse statues. So, of course, Leonardo and Ludovico, they knew the old examples, but they knew also their contemporary examples. The two most famous contemporary examples at the time were one in Venice and the other one in Padua. The one in Venice was designed and built by Verrocchio, and Leonardo studied in Verrocchio atelier when he was young. Bartolomeo Colleoni is the historical figure represented by Verrocchio in his bronze statue. The other one, Gattamelata, is represented by Donatello in Padua group, bronze group. So they knew, Ludovico il Moro and Leonardo, all these examples. And Ludovico il Moro asked Leonardo to do something more important, more beautiful and bigger. So they calculated that to do this 7 meters high sculpture, 100 bronze tons would be needed, which was a huge quantity. And finally, they were going to find this bronze, but then at the very end, it was not possible to have it because it was used to build weapons, bronze weapons. So there were a lot of difficulties. In any case, before doing the bronze statue, it was needed to make a clay model. And this clay model, 7 meters high, so probably it was done of different parts assembled together, was done. And it was positioned in the castle, Sforzesco castle of Ludovico il Moro family in Milan. And now it comes the sad part of the story. In 1499, the French army invaded Milan. And the French army went into the castle, went into the courtyard of the castle, where the clay model of Leonardo horse was. And they didn't respect it, but destroyed it with their arrows, just like a game. So the clay model was completely destroyed, and we don't know how it was. We only can see the drawings. So it's a pity. We don't have any sculptures by Leonardo, also if he did them, probably not only these, but probably other ones. But we don't have.